Hello, boys and girls. Nice to see you again today. Hope you're all well. Well, today I'm going to read a story, but it's rather like a nursery rhyme. It's called The Grand Old Duke of York, and you may know the song, but there's an interesting book that's been made of it. And let's have a look inside the book. There's the Grand Old Duke of York on the front cover, and there's one of his soldiers, and there's his army. The Grand Old Duke of York. The Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And when they were up, and when they were down, and when they were only halfway up, they were neither up nor down. The Grand Old Duke of York then had 500 men. He marched them in and out of a wood, and marched them in again. And some turned to the left, and some turned to the right, and some marched all about the wood, till day turned into night. The Grand Old Duke of York, his men were half asleep. He marched them through a river, but the river was too deep. And some of them did sink, and some of them did swim, and some did soundly shake his hand and bid farewell to him. The Grand Old Duke of York had only 20 men. 15 marching through a farm were chased off by a hen. And 2 were lost in a barn, and 2 were lost in a sty. And the only soldier that was left ran off and waved goodbye. The Grand Old Duke of York, he found himself alone. He sat right down on top of a drum, and there did weep and moan. Even his horse is crying. And first he shed his sword. There he goes, throwing his sword away. And then he shed his gun. And then he wished that all his travels never had begun. The Grand Old Duke of York, he heard a bugle sound. As he buckled on his sword and gun, his heart began to pound. He saw them in rows of 5. He saw them in rows of 10, and they all lined up in front of him till he had 10,000 men. And look, there are some of the soldiers, not 10,000, but quite a few. And there's the Grand Old Duke of York on his horse. Here's the back cover with his soldiers saluting, the back and front cover, and here's the front cover. The Grand Old Duke of York. Well, that may be a story or a song you know really well. But that was an interesting version of the story. It was written and illustrated by Maureen Roffey. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.